Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, we could be watching IndyCar greatness right before our eyes. Social media was fun last night with the NBC Stock Car and Open Wheel Tug of War. And with some weekly tracks winding down, the fall big race road trips are coming on the short tracks. I've got some racing reads to recommend for your shotgun rider who's falling asleep while you're wide awake watching the road. All this and more coming up. Welcome to Speedway Report, Monday, September the 17th, 2018. From the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina, I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. I want to kick off the show by saying thank you to all of you that texted, wrote in, called, Facebook message, social media, whatever you have. Let us know that you were thinking of us during this hurricane. Hurricane Florence came ashore during, here on the Carolinas, down in South Carolina and North Carolina, battered the coast pretty far. I'm about a half hour north of Charlotte, and we were spared quite a bit. We got a lot of rain, got a lot of wind, but really the storm was not nearly as bad as for those closer to the coast. So I appreciate all the prayers and all the concern you showed the world of NASCAR here in Charlotte and the race teams, but we're grateful that nothing worse happened to us, but keep your prayers and support going for everyone out near the coast. Around this area, we're doing just fine. We were busy. We battened down the hatches, a lot of water, a lot of rain, but like I said, we did okay. We're coming through just fine, and Monday dawned sunny and bright. With all that racing, let's take a look at the Victory Lane lap this past weekend and tell you who won what with the Speedway Report Victory Lane lap. Why do I repeat that? I don't know. I just did. I've been off the air for a few weeks. Sue me. Welcome back. Love to see you guys. Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour was out at the Strip in Las Vegas. Ran 400 miles yesterday, and Brad Keselowski took his third in a row. He got the Southern 500, took the Brickyard 400. Now he kicks off NASCAR's playoffs in style in Vegas. Third in a row for Kay, as well as the 500th win total for Team Penske. Hat tip to the captain for all that he has done in this sport. The Xfinity Series was at Vegas on the mile and a half on Saturday. Ross Chastain showed that Cinderella's slipper did fit with Chip Ganassi's ride. Took both stages and the checkered flag. And Friday night, really good race in the Truck Series. Grant Enfinger took the checkered flag. I was watching him with fresh tires. He was 8th with about 8 laps to go, and it seemed like he had the fastest truck, but a couple of late cautions played into his hand, and dang, that green-white checker at the end, the finger from Alabama. Grant takes it to Victory Lane. NASCAR's K&N Pro Series West Tour was on the dirt, and I'll use air quotes with dirt, out in the Las Vegas track. Sheldon Creed was your winner there Thursday night. IndyCar wrapped up their season in Sonoma, California on the road course. Ryan Hunter-Ray was your race winner. Scott Dixon finished second and claims his 5th IndyCar championship. He ties none other than the great A.J. Foyt with 5 championships. Early Sunday morning, late Sunday night in Singapore, Formula One circus ran around the streets of Singapore. Lewis Hamilton stood atop the podium at night's end, and he holds a 40-point lead over Sebastian Vettel for the Drivers' World Championship. 6 rounds to go. NHRA was up in the Northeast in Maple Grove, Pennsylvania, usually one of the fastest races of the year because of the cooler temperatures being in the north in this late in the season. Top fuel was taken by Steve Torrance. And in Funny Car, this is cool, J.R. Todd went back-to-back races for the second time this season. What does that do? Another milestone. We heard about Penske a moment ago. Connie Kalitta. This is the 100th win for Connie Kalitta with J.R. Todd visiting Victory Lane in Funny Car. Pro Stock was taken by Vincent Nobile and Hector Arana Jr. That's right, former guest on this show. He was your winner at the Pro Stock Motorcycle Ladder. On the dirt, the Lucas Oil Late Models ran one of their biggest races of the season in Knoxville, Iowa. $40,000 went to Jimmy Owens on the checkered flag after 100 laps on Saturday night. And the World of Outlaw, their co-sanctioned partners with the sprint cars, were out on the West Coast Friday night in Calistoga, California. Darren Pittman took the A-Main. Saturday, also in Calistoga, this was kind of a cool story. A yellow flag allowed Corey Eliason to officially lead all 25 laps Saturday night for his second career series victory. Donnie Schatz actually took the lead off of turn 4, coming to the white flag. The caution flew, negated the pass, put Schatz back to second place. On the restart, Eliason kept the lead. Schatz for second. Eliason takes your A main. ARCA cars race Saturday night at the very historic Salem, Indiana Speedway. Chandler Smith put on a historic drive. He led 199 of the 200 laps for the win in the Fall Classic 200. USAC Sprints were in Terre Haute on Friday night. Brady Bacon took on the checkered flag there. And Saturday night, they were in Hobstadt, where Kevin Thomas Jr. was your winner. And one of the biggest events for the dirt small block modifieds, held Saturday night in Grandview, Pennsylvania, the Freedom 76er. Dwayne Howard won for the 5th time in his career and a very cool $25,000. I've been up to Grandview, seen the hill. Always wanted to go to a 76er, just never managed to make it up there. This weekend was no different. Fleeting thoughts faded with the hurricane that flew in to the Carolinas. Like I said, not too severe, but I certainly wanted to stick around and made sure the hatches were batted down. So I did. Here I was. One of these days I will be at Grandview for the 76er. Ernie Saxton, I promise I'm coming back to the hill. Love the hospitality you guys showed me last time I was up there. Second to none. I will be back. Now, so I'm going to talk to you guys and the friends, whether you're watching us on social media, if you downloaded us, especially if you're watching us live on the Facebook feed. There's a few guys there joining the conversation. Oh, Noel's here. Hi, Noel. Good to see you. Bill Pratt's with us. Wally Bell as well. Noel may not be able to weigh in on this too much, but I'll ask you the other guys and anyone else that's giving me a thumbs up and watching us live. I want to know where Scott Dixon falls in IndyCar lore and your thoughts on this. He finished second in the race on Sunday afternoon. And in the big picture, he tied A.J. Foyt with 5 IndyCar championships. Now, the days of Foyt and rough and tumble racing is far evolved because he came into the rear engine era. Matter of fact, Foyt was the last guy to win the 500 with a front engine roadster. So he's well versed in today's technology, but that was toward the end of his career where, he was winning a lot less. Now, I was just curious where you guys thought Dixon fell with the likes of Rutherford, Andretti, Foyt. Dixon is the current day megastar, iconic face of the series, so to speak. I think he's there. We look at Dixon, and his career has come, blossomed, and he's been the star of the sport, but he's been through the days of where USAC and IndyCar fell apart, and we had the CART and IRL split. And he's come through that, and then the reunification, he's back to that. He's won the Indy 500 once, as well as 5 championships in the IndyCar series. Where does he fall? That's my question to you guys. Throw it in the comments in our Facebook feed, if you will. I want to read what you guys have to say later as far as Dixon goes. Where is he? Is he the greatest of all time? Is he not anywhere near there because you don't like today's racing versus yesteryear's? I know a lot of guys put stock in the fact of fiberglass helmets and T-shirts. My dad always did. He says guys of today look like spacemen when they get into race cars. Well, I agree. It's a good reason for that, too. But where does Scott Dixon fall to? Is Scott Dixon the greatest of all time? Is he not? Are we blowing smoke? Are we exaggerating this way too much? Is Dixon hyperbole? What do you think? Better than Foyt? As good as Foyt? Can you even compare the two? Is Foyt that much better? How about Mario? Gordon Johncock? JR? You guys tell me. Where does Scott Dixon fall as far as IndyCar's all-time greatest drivers? Throw it up there in the Facebook comments if you're downloading us later on Twitter or whatever, on the Racers Reunion site. Social media me up. I want to know where you think Scott Dixon falls in the world of IndyCar history. I think he's absolutely comparable to Foyt. I find it extremely difficult to compare drivers of different eras. I've always said that. I've always felt like that because of the difference in equipment and difference of times and difference of racing. Richard Petty's career was winding down as Dale Earnhardt's was really accelerating. They're tough. Who's the better driver? was Fireball Roberts better than Dale Earnhardt? Was Richard Petty better than Junior Johnson? How do you compare Jeff Gordon to these guys? It's tough to compare different eras. How do we look at Jimmy Johnson or Tony Stewart or Joey Logano now versus Ned Jarrett from years ago? It's always been tough. Here we are in the IndyCar world. We're looking at Scott Dixon's accomplishments with Chip Ganassi Racing. I want to know what you think. Give me a Scott Dixon profile and an opinion on the man in the comments. I want to hear it. Let's keep talking about IndyCar and the NASCAR blend. Who was on Twitter last night? Give me a show of hands. Who was on Twitter? Yeah, I can see you out there. I thought this was, God, this drove me nuts last night. The end of the NASCAR Cup race at Las Vegas and this green flag of the IndyCar race in Sonoma. If you're unfamiliar with this, let me throw it out to you. NBC Sports Network covers both series. Big into NASCAR, big into IndyCar. We've got the second half of the Cup schedule as a good chunk of the IndyCar schedule. Well, the Cup race was supposed to take the checkered flag a little bit beforehand as an estimate, and the IndyCar race going green. Well, we had some late cautions, or a bunch of cautions in the Cup race, stretched it late. We had our infamous green-white checkered, drove the IndyCar group nuts because they were waiting for the start of their race. The green flag of the IndyCar race was moved to CNBC. So you saw the green flag live there. Then during a red flag for late crash cleanup in Vegas, NBCSN goes to the IndyCar race minus the green flag, but just the early laps of the race. Then when the Cup race gets restarted, they go back to NBCSN, goes back to the Cup race in Vegas. We finish up there, and then we finally take over in coverage in Sonoma. Did you follow all that? It's a little bit confusing. I didn't find it that confusing. The IndyCar fans were driven nuts because, one, the green flag was thrown on CNBC, which they didn't know, yet I did. I was watching NBCSN. It was fine to me. There's banners and graphics and information saying if you want to see the green flag, go to CNBC. I'm cool with that. So we saw the green flag there. And then while the crash is being cleaned up in Vegas, we're under a red flag. There's nothing going on. We're cleaning up the crash. The cars are parked at the Vegas Speedway. Let's go to the IndyCar race and watch some of that. And then when the race gets restarted at Vegas, they do. The coverage goes back there. You didn't miss a thing. Now, the IndyCar guys, they somehow missed the memo that this was being moved. Anyway, with all this, it comes up if you take the ground level view of all this, which was what I just gave to you, back it up to the 10,000-foot view. And if you looked at the scheduled time of everything that NBCSN had planned, there was only on the best case scenario, 37 minutes. That's it between the checkered flag of the Cup race and the green flag of the IndyCar race. That is nowhere near enough time to allow for any delays, any late crashes, post-race celebrations, interviews, stories, things like that. Bad move on all parties. No way should that ever have been have happened in the first place. That's nuts. But when it did happen, I followed it just fine. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I knew where the IndyCar race was. I could go over there, check on that. I knew where the NASCAR race was. And if you just stayed on NBC Sports Network, you got the best of both worlds. But people were screaming that the championship race of IndyCar was missed with the green flag. Really wasn't. It was just on another network. However, it all should have been put into place ahead of time. Live sports does run long. Yes, there was a famous tweet made that yesterday. No kidding, but you should plan for it to run long and make provisions ahead of time. There should have been plenty of time for both. Both races were on the West Coast in the same time zone, but very staggered start times. But the green and the checkered of each one. I don't think IndyCar would have minded if we went a little bit later for that East Coast audience. I think it was kind of cool for Sunday night racing, yet they did have to think about the California sunset. In any event, I thought it was fine, but the IndyCar guys that said NASCAR sucked and the NASCAR guys that said IndyCar sucked were quite entertaining. As good as the racing was at Sonoma in Vegas, the war on Twitter of watching guys in IndyCar say how bad NASCAR sucked and NASCAR guys saying how bad IndyCar sucked were good. Or everybody saying how much NBC sucked. I found it all entertaining. It wasn't as good as the racing, but it was pretty good. If you had Twitter last night and watching everybody lose their minds off of this, I did not have a problem with it. I don't know why anybody else did. I've always been a race fan. Never been an IndyCar guy, never been a stock car guy, but I've just been a race fan. So I never understood that I followed this, but not that form of racing. Just me, I guess. Las Vegas is dirt track. I'm going to use dirt with air quotes. What the hell was that? On Thursday night, NASCAR's K&N West Series was there. It was awful. It was a sand track. It wasn't even a dirt track. That was ridiculous. It was a horrible conditions of sand and dust where nobody could even see where they were going. It was pitiful. Good dirt racing dirt track prep is a science. It is an art, and a lot of people do it incorrectly. The people in Vegas, I don't know if they can or can't do it, but on Thursday night they didn't. If you had the video from Thursday night's K&N West Series race, talking about how difficult it is to water a track because you pay so much for water, so much all the time. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The high price of water to water the track. Well, then what the hell are we running a dirt track race for? Then don't do it. If you can't prep the track right, don't do it. I don't know what kind of science experiments those poor guys at the West Series had to go through. I feel sorry for those, especially the fans in the stands that think, well, I'm going to give dirt racing a try, and then saw that crap show and thinks dirt racing sucks, when actually dirt racing is awesome in my book. And don't go mistake dirt racing for sand racing, which Las Vegas did put on Thursday night. Now, I'm talking about racing, talking about on-track stuff. I'm going to talk about books now. Books? Yeah, 2 books. I got 2 books I want to recommend to you guys. These are going to connect with some of our audience. This first one here is going to connect really well. We're going to talk about Hot Shoe. Yeah, the Hot Shoe book, the story of Gary Ballou, penned by our good friends Bones Bossier. Bones, gosh, one of the best motorsports writers ever in my book, one of, if not the favorite writer of me. But the story of Gary Ballou. I'm only on chapter 2, so I'm not all the way in here yet. But we all know the ins and the outs. And I talked with Gary Ballou several years ago about writing this book for him and doing it with him. And I talked to Ballou. I said, here's one way you got to do is you have to be, no pun intended, an open book on your life. Everything that happened, you can't cover it up. You can't sugarcoat it. A book about you has got to be a tell-all. He opens the book with the introduction in chapter 1. I'm only in chapter 2, but he says, I am going to tell all. Some people have already completed the book. He is going to tell all. When I finish it, I'll talk to you guys more about it. Another book written about the racing world, but can be applied to business for each one of us, Reputation Shift by Mike Mooney. He's one of the organizers and been in the executive and leadership level of NASCAR for many years. Talking with Mike Mooney, found out that both of us were in the NASCAR garage for a long time. He was one of those guys likely with a golf shirt and a pair of khakis on, while I had a tape measure around my belt and some wrenches in my pockets and dirty fingernails. But we never met, but we circled each other around the garage area for years, evidently from getting to know the man and talking about him a little bit. And kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that, not as a mechanical book, and not as a tell-all by Gary Ballou's, but just how his lessons in racing can apply to my professional life now. So Reputation Shift by Mike Mooney and Hot Shoe, the Gary Ballou story. Looking forward to reading both. And if Shane Ryan Bailey is in our audience tonight, sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't, sometimes he catches the show. He is the runner of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour fan page on Facebook. Shane, can you hook a brother up and tell me the format of the Big Musket 250 coming up at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway? I want to understand how the race is being run. 250 laps, just over that in 250 miles. The longest race in Tour history. Yes, I know modifieds have run longer races, but not under the current Tour format. $25,000 to win this Saturday afternoon at New Hampshire. And I want to know the format. I'm a big fan of racing. I like the 250-lap event, the live pit stop version, but I understand there's going to be segments. If anybody knows, after you're done with your Scott Dixon comments, can you comment below on how this race will be stopped, segmented, what have you? I am all in favor of let's go 250 laps green to checkered, no stops, no breaks. Let the cautions just fall where they may and let your strategy roll from there. However, I understood that's not the way it's going to be. What can I tell you? I'd like to know, though. So if Shane, if you're listening, or anybody tour savvy can throw that in the Facebook comments or the social media comments on this broadcast. I do want to hear if you can clear that up for me as to how they are running the Musket 250 this Saturday at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Well, a couple of notes to pass along. We lost Burt Reynolds last week. Big fan of racing stock cars, the South, NASCAR. He'll be missed. He was a fan and an advocate of the sport. Good dude. Caleb Hammond, we also passed away a few weeks ago. He was the 11-year-old that really made a big splash on social media. He wanted his casket to be covered in racing stickers. Naturally, the Speedway Report decals were sent to the address, and peace and prayers to the Hammond family. And earlier today, word was received that Bob Moore passed away, a longtime writer. He was covered the Grand National Circuit before Tom Higgins covered it for the Charlotte Observer. Bob Moore goes back a long time, good writer, member of the National Motorsports Press Association. Was good to meet him and good to talk with him in my forays around the Charlotte media market. So the Reynolds family, Hammond family, Moore family, peace and prayers to all of you, as well as peace and prayers to everyone still cleaning up here in the Carolinas and in the South from Hurricane Florence. We were hit, but not as hard as it was predicted, so we are blessed right here in Charlotte. But my thoughts go out to all of you that are still dealing with the aftermath. Guys, in between our broadcasts, keep up in the world of racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This show and all of our past ones are uploaded on the site, except the last one I did. Had some technical problems with that one. It's not uploaded, so we'll see how this one goes. But we'll try to fix that as soon as we can. We also have some racing articles to read. I finally finished my story about Bobby Santos and his family from the Little 500 sprint car race. I know we don't have Little 500 results. It's a little late for that. But I spent the infield and the day with the Santos family during the race. Pretty cool story. Head to SpeedwayReport.com. You can catch our past episodes if you want to search around for some podcasts. On Facebook, we've got Racers Reunion. We've got Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds. On Twitter, we have Speedway Report and at Speedway Pat. RacersReunion.com, go to the forum, and SpeedwayReport.com, of course. I also post them if you are connected to me on Google+, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And I'd like to thank everyone on the feed tonight for joining the conversation. Looking forward to catching up with you guys after the show. Go see a race at a track near you. A lot of them are wrapping up their seasons and closing, but hit your local drag strip, oval track road course this weekend to keep this sport strong. I want to thank all of the military, past and present, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at SpeedwayPat. Now, on the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Racing and Rockin' with Draglist.com. Bill, John, and Barb will have all the drag racing news and some cool music as well. So go to the Drag Racing List page on Facebook. We will be back here live in 1 week, Monday, September 24th, with a look at NASCAR in Richmond, the USAC Four Crown Nationals at Eldora, the Musket 250 at New Hampshire for NASCAR mods, short tracks, and a whole lot more. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you all next time.